Yeah, I can still. I got to redo this intro on this one because it's a bit of a pain in the butt to try to do. Anyway, hey, I'm Rick, and this is History Revisited. This is my living room, right? Sorry about the light glaring through the window. I can turn it here this way, maybe. There we go. A little less glare going on there. Okay, so it's a rare Monday for me. The wife volunteers to do a little cleaning at the up at the office at where I work at every 2 weeks. So she's down there for a couple of hours. It's a rare day for her. She doesn't get out of the house very much either by herself. So I take advantage of it when I can. If I'm a bit off and groggy, I apologize for that. I'm looking at a little bit ragged today. I worked all night last night. I worked, like I said, I work some pretty effed up hours, and I don't have the luxury of worrying about what am I going to do when I get old, because I'm likely to have to work until I can't physically work anymore, because that's just the way the world has become in this country anyway. And so what I'm looking at is things like term limits and competency tests to determine whether the people we elect to represent us are physically and mentally fit to do just that. I mean, you have to ask yourself at some point, is this may have been an oversight from the old days, from when Congress was first set up and everybody was trying to figure out what to do, and I understand, and I've listened to many people who understand far better than I the Constitution and everything that entails things like the Federalist Papers and other stuff like that. I have not read those, but that doesn't mean I haven't heard plenty of people who have and have give their opinions. And keep in mind that most everything we hear from people on the internet is just that. It's our opinions, whether it's an educated opinion or a wild hair up your ass. It is what it is. So when they sat down and you figure a bunch of middle-aged white guys is what set up the country, is what created the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and all this stuff. And it was from a white ruled elite back in the day. Yeah, that's a big part of the problem, and I got a feeling I'm going to do many videos down the road on the topic of this, because it surprises me how much frustration and anger I get at just some of the stupidest crap that I see and hear, right? And I mean, I'm just saying that, where do we go? What do we do? And why do we have term limits to begin with? So I did a shallow dive on Google, because you know what? Google's a beautiful thing. At no point in American history have we ever had as much information at the fingertips as we do today. And perhaps that's part of the problem. We have way too much information available for people who have no coping skills or desire to understand that kind of stuff. That's a hard fact of reality too. We're surrounded by people. You may know people. Hell, dude, do that. You could be one of the people I'm talking about. And I'm sure I'm blind in my own way to many realities that other people have, and views and things like this too, because that's human nature as well. But to be a president, you have to be a minimum of 35 years old, I believe, and you have to be a naturalized resident of the United States. And why is that important? Well, that means you can't come here from another country and become president. There's damn good reasons for that, and we can do an entire video on it. And if that ever comes up to be a point, perhaps we will. But that's the truth. That is the way it is. And that only holds true to the president's position, which is something I didn't know. Once again, you learn something new every day. My grandfather said you never truly stop learning until you're dead, and even then he was 100% positive that you kept learning after death because you went to heaven. So I'm just saying, right? It's part of life experience, it's part of knowledge. But so I learned something new today. That you can be 25 years old and be in the Senate or in the House. You need to be 30 years old to be in the Senate. In the House, you need to have been a natural citizen for more than 7 years. So any one of these fine folks that are coming to America today, 8 years from now, could run for the House. They become a naturalized citizen 8 years later, 7 years later. They can actually run for politics, and I suppose that holds true in most of the state and local levels as well. And then for the Senate is 9 years. So you have to be a naturalized student or a naturalized citizen for 9 years and be at least 30 before you can qualify to run for Congress, for Senate. So why is that? Why did we didn't our founding fathers and the fine folks who followed them, because a lot of what we have today, we attribute the founding fathers, George Washington and Jefferson, all these fine folks, for everything, when the truth is no. They established the very beginning framework, the framework that would become the United States government, and manifest destiny and philosophy in general is established on a crude frame. It's afterwards, the many generations, especially the first couple decades right after the formation of the country, they're still trying to work all the bells and whistles and details out, and they're doing so for their times. So everything is with conjecture. So everything that's ever been created for our country, in our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, all this stuff was initially conceived as a thought and put on paper, but it was actually put into a working practice over time with the help of many people. So once again, why did they decide we should have a minimum age bracket for people to serve at the highest office and the highest seats in the country, and not have a ceiling for the older folks, or for how old you can be to be seated? So we're back down to that what common sense stuff. Well, you know what? We don't have to go very far today and to see the antics and juvenile behavior of some of our elected officials quite recently and quite openly in comments. So I mean, no offense, and yeah, I'm picking on Miss Boebert because she's the latest and the most hot button topic at the moment. Miss Boebert, you didn't get elected to be a representative of your district of Colorado to allow yourself to believe somehow you were better than everybody around you. You're 30 something, right? What are you, 38, 37, 30, 39? Yeah, you're in your 30s. Probably lower than that, but you're in your 30s. So you're fairly young for a sitting Congresswoman. And that's God's truth. How many under 30s have been elected to your position? I'd be curious to know about that. I'm sure there's some stuff out there that would talk about all that stuff. But the truth is, so what do we got? We got a young lady drunk on power. We've seen it over and over again. She gets in the news a lot, and not in good ways. But she acts like she's a freaking high schooler, and a lot of her behaviors reek of that punky, fake high school drama bullshit that somehow was important to some folks. It wasn't very important to me. I had more important things to do, like work, chase girls. Just saying. So anyway, the fact of her behavior, and then has the mitigating gall. You lied, Laura. You lied about it. You lied about everything you did, and you're on fucking camera. When will you people get it to your goddamn head that everybody's got cameras today? Everybody has a camera in their fucking hand, or damn close. And what they don't, plenty of establishments that we take advantage of, that we frequent, have security cameras. And the old day when they would be a little discreet, that's long past. You don't earn that, lady. You don't earn that. Second, you're not owed anything. You are not owed anything in America. At the end of the day, that's the hard, cold truth of how America works too. Nobody owes you shit. Period. Even your parents and your grandparents, they don't have to take care of you after you hit 18. The law will not penalize them for not giving you a free place to flop and take care of your rent and buy your car, buy your groceries, and give you a credit card to spend, because some folks have that advantage. Some people have family money that can do that, and hey, that's great. If you use it responsibly and you take advantage of it, so be it. But at the end of the day, your behavior is one of the reasons why they chose to have a minimum age bracket. They didn't feel it would be an ideal scenario to have a 19-year-old who is just facing the world, is super excited about the world in general, or scared and confused because they're suddenly in an adult environment that they have not really been prepared for. Because that's something we do to our kids today. We are not preparing our children today to be adults in America. I'm just saying. So it doesn't go very far. That there is a reason why we have a minimum. So this is a damn good example of that. I don't have to make this shit up, America. I don't have to make it up. They're doing it for us. The other side of the coin is this sort of shit. I mean, I have nothing personal against Senator Feinstein at all. I mean, I don't know her from Adam. I know she's a Republican. I know she's voted for a lot of crap that I don't agree with, but she's voted for some stuff that I agree with too. But at the end of the day, this is neither here nor there. What we do have to understand, and what we have to come to grips and terms with, it's just something we really need to do in this country, is to establish when's enough is enough. There are plenty of people, and that do it all the time. Our history is full of politicians who literally die in office. And some of them are look at Bernie Sanders. You know, for a guy that's in his 80s or pushing 80 or pushing 90, whatever the hell he is, he's pretty acute. He's pretty savvy. He's pretty on point. He knows where the hell he's at, and he's got energy. Where the hell he gets all that energy, I don't freaking know. But God, good kudos to you, Bernie. I really wish you had run for president, because I damn well would have voted for you. I don't think would accomplish the tenth of what you thought you would, but that's neither here nor there. So at the end of the day, at what point do we have to say enough's enough? This is not healthy for our country. It's not healthy for Miss Feinstein either. She's at a point in her life, mentally and physically, that she's incapable of basic things. She can't do her job, period. She's unable to make an educated decision based off of her personal experiences and her views and beliefs, and the beliefs of the people who elected her, who hope she'll honor what they believe. You know how that usually goes out. The first thing the politicians do is stop doing what they promise they're going to do, because they all lie. They're going to tell you, they're going to sing you every song in the world as long as it gets them in that power. So they get them in that seat. Yeah. So, at what point do we decide health reasons, mental capabilities, the mental capacity for comprehension, and even functioning? This woman's not representing her constituents. She's not. She's representing the Republican Party by fiat. That means she's got somebody else pulling the strings for her. Her vote is actually no longer her vote. She is incapable of making the decision to vote yes or no on anything. This makes her a puppet of her handlers, and in this case, the Republican Party. And they're damn determined to keep her propped up in office because of that very reason. She's a free vote for anything they want, and they know it. So I have to ask my fellow Americans, I have to ask you, America, is that okay? Is that okay? Would you let your grandpa do this? That doesn't know where he's at half the time. If he wanders away and nobody's paying attention, he could die. I mean, would you allow him to be in a position, that kind of position? You might. It's the American thing. You're going to cash in on grandpa's connections and money. Yeah. No, so at the end of the day, at what point is this no longer acceptable? And you just go through the history books in America, the American history books of presidents who have died in office. There's more than a few. Many, many Congress people have died of old age in office, which is okay, fine. You know what? Bernie has a coronary tomorrow. It just doesn't wake up. At his age, nobody's going to find fault in that. And he did his job to the last day. Miss Feinstein isn't capable of doing it. And that's nothing to do, this is nothing to do with partisan politics. You know what? Rubber stamp a goddamn Republican for her chair. Get her district to make a special vote and elect another damn Republican in her chair. Somebody who's capable of making decisions on their own and not being spoon-fed somebody else. And actually has an idea where the fuck they are half the time. Because that's got to be disconnected. What has that got to be doing to her, what's left of her mind? thinking she's somewhere else and then waking up and realizing she's somewhere she's not, or trying to figure out what the hell's going on and why, etc. So it makes perfect good sense to have a ceiling to both age and mental facilities, especially the mental facilities. I'm not so worried about the physical deformities because handicapped people can serve in office. If your mind is sharp and you know what's going on, you don't need to be overly mobile. You don't. But you kind of have to have an idea of what's going on. You really need a idea of what's going on. When you're a handful of people, there's 300 odd million people in America today? Is it higher than 300? I can't keep track of that shit. The last time it was 300 million, 300 plus. Of those, less than 600 people. Yeah, 4 or 5, 6, less than 700 people. You got 400 to somebody, 400, 400 and some odd seats in the House, and 100 senators, 9 chief justices, and 1 president of the United States. The very top of the chain for the political endeavors of this country. And I know this thing's a little flawed because my table's just a little off. So anyway, we've only got less than 700 people that are in charge of the country, and there's a reason why there's 700 people and not 1, because we chose to not have a king. We chose. Washington had a choice. He was given a choice by his power block to be king, and he said that is not what we fought for. That is not what we stand for. That is not how America works. A fucknut Trump. You don't get to be king. Ever. Ever. And on the god-awful chance that you actually manage to get elected a second time, guess what, chump? It's the only time you're going to do it. You don't get a third run. And there's good reasons for this. We put term limits on the presidency of all the offices that there are. The term limit is the only one that really has this. Well, that's not true, right? The term limit for president is two trips as president. It doesn't define whether that's 2 in a row or 2 interspaced by 20 years. 2 is 2. 2 equals 2, and no more than 2, for a good reason. So why doesn't Congress have a limit? How much better, or I don't know if it'd be better or worse if our Congress actually had a max limit. You can serve 20 years, period. But guess what? That's not the end of your goddamn career. You could serve 20 years as a congressperson in the House and then run for a seat in the Senate and spend another 20 years in the Senate. But 20 years. That sounds like a reasonable amount of time for somebody in that category of what we're asking them to do. But in addition to that, it also automatically puts a cap. So most politicians get into the business in the middle, in their mid 30s and stuff. So the odds are pretty good you're not going to be 90 and still serving in the Senate with a 20-year, or in the House with a 20-year frickin' whatever. But perhaps, once again, and a caveat to all this is to have competency tests. Now, I'm not saying that every person in Congress and the Senate must sit down every year and go through a battery of damn tests. You know what? They got some of the best. They have the access to the best effing healthcare there is in this country. You talk about a 2-tier system. Fuck you and fuck me. There's a multi-tier people. The more money you got, the healthier and the longer you're likely to live. Because you know what? You get access to a whole bunch of shit the rest of us don't get access to. And not unless we got deep pockets, or they're willing to let us go in. I go on $500,000 in debt over medical bills, and you're never getting that money back. Whoever I owe that money to is fucked. There's nothing I own that even come close to that, paying that kind of a medical bill. So what would happen? We'd die. We don't have a bankroll like some folks. Now, that said, there's still other issues with this sort of thing. So it's not just extreme age that can be a problem in this scenario. Another problem is this. This individual, a very important member of his party and a very important in a position of a handful. There's only In the top 10 leaders of the United States, even if you're a minority whip, you're still a leader of your party, and you're a leader of your party in the House or the Senate. This makes you in the top. So, in the case of McConnell, when he's no longer Senate Majority Leader, he's minority leader, or whatever the fuck they call it. The whip's a different position, I think. So, the point I'm getting at is though, when McConnell starts having brain farts in public, I have to be a little more lenient about that because we're old. We get older. Takes us a minute. Sometimes we lose our train of thought. I'm guilty of that all the goddamn time. You watch enough of my videos, you'll see it. You can lose the train of thought. You can get confused a little bit. You can switch topics and not catch up to the fact that you did. It's not hard to do. And the older you get, the more likely you are to do such a thing. So I have no problem with McConnell having these moments. I don't like McConnell at all. I don't like him at all. I sure as hell don't like what he represents, and a lot of the shenanigans, the problems we have today in our political system, in part, is his doing. He played his role in fucking up the system, and I honestly got to believe that there is a small minority in the Republican Party that's hell bent on totally wrecking the country and reconstructing it in their image, which would be bad for America. And you're fucking kidding yourself if you think it is. If they're doing it for something for you. And most of the social bullshit that they keep flinging around is because they got nothing else. They got nothing else. And this has been their tactics and their playbook for decades. It's not hard, America. It's not hard to open your eyes and read a bit and to study things that happened a few years ago or a few decades ago, because it tells you an idea of where things should be. This is not the America of our grandparents. That's the hard fact truth, right? And that's a whole nother video for another day. Till next time, I'm Rick. You ain't. Keep the faith, America. We will get through this. How it will end out on the other end of this mess, I don't know. Neither do you.